This is, oh wow, this has just been a marathon of a day. Marathon of a day. Oh man, hopefully I can make it through this. This is the last show for the day. This is show number 24. Show number 24. We're there. We're there. And it's entitled, What's Wrong with the Broncos? What's wrong with the Broncos? Oh my gosh. What a long day. What a long week. What a long weekend. And we have some travesty of set of teams. And I just had to do these shows. What is wrong with the Broncos? Man, the Broncos were my team in the 90s. Actually, the player that I was most, following during his playing days, way back in the day, not way back in the day, but, was John Elway, Mr. Denver Bronco. Now John Elway is general manager of the Denver Broncos. So that's the reason why I have to do this show. What's wrong with the Broncos? Oh my gosh. It's crazy. 2019. Dare I say it? Yes, I have to call him out. So I'm giving you a little heads up already. What's wrong with the Denver Broncos? Oh man. So let me just take care of the necessities. Thank you, Podbean. Thank you, Podbean. Thank you, Podbean, for supporting us. Thank you, Spotify. Thank you, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts. And thank you, Instagram. No, thank you, YouTube followers. Again, we have over 261 subscribers. We'd like to get more subscribers. Please call your friends, call your family. Listen to us on YouTube. Download us from Podbean. Download us from iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and just follow us. It's okay. I'll just try to be as cordial as possible. Email me at ejb88@92gmail.com. If you disagree, if you want to make a comment, I'll bring your comment on air. Matter of fact, at the beginning of 2020, we will be going live. And maybe before 2020, we will be going live. I've been contacted by Podbean that all of our podcasts will have the chance to go live. So I'm setting that up, by the way. Hopefully in the near future, but I'm setting a date actually in 2020, but it should happen earlier than that. So we're going to go live as soon as we get the clearance, as soon as we get the approval of Podbean and the system in place. So I want to get your calls. Excuse me, I gotta take a little break here. Apologize. Clearing out my nose. So, what's wrong with the Broncos? Man. Oh my gosh. What's wrong with the Broncos? I've been nice up to this point in time. And I'm going to get straight to the point. I usually waver around the point. What's wrong with the Broncos? The general manager, John Elway. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but it's real. It's that bad. I'm going straight to the problem. And there's only really one problem. I'm done. I'm not giving you another list of ownership of players. This show is all about, oh my gosh, I'm there already. I'm not even going to mention the player acquisitions, the quarterback, Flacco, the new head coach, Big Fangio. He's 61. He's the same age as I am, but this is his first coaching job coming from Chicago. He's very traditional, old school, very old school. But all of this falls on one person's shoulders. One person with the Denver Broncos. He's an institution there in Denver. But guess what? I just really you go back in football 101 history. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but the major problem with the Denver Broncos is just one person, and that is John Elway. John Elway destroyed this team. Hello, John Elway, ex, Hall of Famer, ex quarterback for the Broncos, ex Stanford quarterback, and now for how many? I don't know how many years he's been general manager, but it's been going steadily downhill. Yes, he won with Peyton Manning a few years ago, several years ago, but he had a stellar defense then. He brought in an aging Peyton Manning, which was he was barely holding on, and they barely won those games by their defense for the most part, and got Peyton Manning to get his first and only, pretty sure first and only Super Bowl win, and it was time for Peyton to go. But guess what? John Elway is such a traditionalist. Hint, hint. He goes way back in old school. Fires the other coach, which he should have never hired, by the way. And then brings in Vic Fangio, old school coach. Doesn't have a clue how to coach. Let me just say that. I'll say that for the record. Big Fangio doesn't have a clue of how to coach, be head coach. But the blame, what's wrong with the Broncos, falls squarely on John Elway's shoulders. I saw some of the initial reactions out of Denver. They're getting tired. They tried to play as nice as possible. Because they're going against the institution. John Elway sits up in his box. Protective box. So insulated. Yet always blaming other people. Sorry, John Elway, JL. You simply do not know how to manage a team. You simply do not know how to draft players. Yes, you got a great defense, a good defense, but you let some players go. Should have never let go. And you just bring in below average players. And again, you're talking to, I was a die-hard Denver Broncos fan, supporter during the 70s, 80s, 90s, because Denver Broncos have a tradition of, they're out in the West, they're out in Denver, it's tough, it's, it's Mile High Stadium, still up in that elevation, it's beautiful, but it's rough. There during majority of the season, particularly when the football season and the cold weather comes in. You really gotta love playing in Denver. And so I'm an old school AFC, more of an AFC fan, and love AFC players. And JL fit that mode back in the day during the 70s, during the 80s and 90s, or late 80s and then the 90s. And of course, he beat those Cleveland Browns back in that one championship game, which I loved. But I digress. Sorry about that. Yet. Now, In 2019, let me stay in 2019 because I was getting ready to go back, further back in time. But in 2019 and 2020 coming up, it is bad, pathetic for the Broncos. And lately, they just lost their outstanding other linebacker, Bradley Chubb. But what's wrong with the Broncos falls squarely on John Elway's shoulders. So sad how he has managed this team, this organization, how he has took advantage of his status, of his prestige, and decimated this team, this championship quality team in the AFC West. They have come from, we're at the top, and guess what? They're going to end at the bottom of the AFC West. And I do mean the bottom. Because of one person. That's John Elway. I'm calling out. I can't even believe this. It's so hard for me to even say. I'm calling out, and quite frankly, it's not that hard after a while because I'm a Denver Bronco fan. But I'm calling out John Elway. He needs to step aside. He needs to send in his resignation. He needs to go ahead and do his business. He has plenty of business. He has, oh my gosh, he's making so much money. He did have a car dealership. I'm not in Denver, but he used to have a big time car dealership in Denver. John Elway just needs to go and retire from football. He's not a football. He thinks has a great foot. No, you don't. In this day and age, you can't be that conservative in the NFL. You cannot be that conservative in the NFL. Come on, JL. You're too conservative. You hired an old school coach to teach blocking and tackling and all that. No, this is the NFL 2019-2020. Completely different. You need different athletes. You need a different coaching staff. And dare I say, he can't get rid of Vic Fangio because he already got rid of the other coach was there for only 1 year. So he can't get rid of Vic Fangio after 1 year. Guess who has to step down? John Elway must step down. The Denver fans, Denver loyalists will turn against you. And they are turning against you, John Elway. And I'm one of your biggest supporters, and I am turning against you. Yeah. Football 101. Can you believe it? The Beatle is calling out John Elway. Yes, I'm calling out one of your most loyal followers back in the day. Now calling for the resignation of John Elway. It's that bad in Denver. That's what's wrong with the Broncos. It's the general manager, John Elway. I can hear the conversation, right? I can hear the murmurs. I can hear, oh my God, oh, how dare you? How dare you call out? No, we know what majority of you are thinking in Denver land, Denver Nation, Bronco Nation. I was there hyping up, supporting John Elway as quarterback, back-to-back Super Bowls. I was one of few folks coming to John Elway's back, even when he lost the Super Bowls before then as quarterback against other teams. And I said, this guy's too talented. He will get to the Super Bowl. And by the time he finished out his career, he won back-to-back Super Bowls. I am a die-hard Denver Bronco fan. Yes, this kid from Ohio is a die-hard Bronco fan. And yet now, in 2020, I'm calling for the resignation of John Elway as general manager. Wow. Can you believe it? I'm pinching myself right now in the studio. I'm pinching myself because I would never have thought this day could possibly happen. But you saw, the handwriting was on the wall. The handwriting was on the wall when they continue to have struggle with their quarterbacks. Before now, with they got Flacco. They struggle with their quarterbacks, and they were fortunate to again and again after Manning and after that winning that Yeah, they bring up great draft outstanding superstar pass rushers with the Broncos. Of course, with Von Miller, and now with unfortunately they lost Chubb, but yes. But for the most part, the Broncos are not the way they should be. The upper echelon team. And they have that championship quality. And yet they're far, far, far from it. And the major reason why. See, you can tell I'm just totally pissed. The major reason why is John Elway. That's the hardest thing for me to say at this point in time in 2019. Going against my boy JL. But it has to be said. It has to be done. Someone has to bring it out. And again, just looking at their schedule, the Broncos, they lost against Jacksonville this past week. They're 0-4. They go to Chargers. They go to the LA Chargers, and Phillip Rivers and the boys will put a pounding on them. Then they host Tennessee. Tennessee will be out physical them. Then they host KC on a Thursday night with my boy Mahomes. Oh, it's going to be so embarrassing when KC comes in. Then they go to Indianapolis. Indy will put a hurting on them. Then they host Cleveland. The Brownies will be in fold then. Then they have their bye. Then they go to Minnesota, loss. Go to Buffalo, loss. Host the Chargers, loss. At Houston, loss. At KC, super loss. Then they host Detroit. They might beat Detroit by then. And then they host Oakland. And no telling what that's going to do. That's just pride. That's a toss-up. But again, because Oakland beat them already on Monday night, so that's a toss-up, the last game of the season. But again, the major problem with the Denver Broncos is John Elway. That's the reason it's so quiet. It's so you can hear a pin drop in the studio, and I can hear a pin drop across Bronco Nation that I'm even putting this out. But yes, John Elway must go as general manager. It's time. That's the problem. Enough said. Personnel. Well, I'm not a big fan of Vic Fangio either. You can't bring in a super conservative coach when you got Kansas City in your league, when you got John Gruden, who's starting a new tradition in Oakland, and you got the LA Chargers with a great coach and philosophy there. They are bringing it in Charger land, and with Anthony Lynn as head coach. I mean, that's the changing that's happening in the AFC. It's they flipped the script. They're going fast, new. That's the way the AFC used to be. But John Elway and the Broncos went completely conservative. That doesn't cut it. You will be trash in the AFC West and come in last again and again and again with that philosophy. So if you're going to maintain that philosophy, you're going to come in last. And the bags will come out. The Bronco faithful will wear their bags. And it's going to get really ugly in Denver. And they will call for John Elway to resign. That's how bad it is. The Bronco faithful will bring it out and demand that John Elway step down. That's way Football 101 calls it at this point in time. This is show number 24. What's wrong with the Broncos? It's John Elway. Yeah! I called it. Yes, I said. And sorry about this. A little shout out to one of the supporters, Rick Ward, loyal Denver Bronco fan. I told him this at the beginning of the season, and I think he may be coming around to what's wrong with the Broncos. So a quick shout out to my homie Rick Ward, and keep the faith. It's going to change, but you got to get rid of John Elway. Sorry to say it, that's the reality. This is football.